Sir, step back. First class isn't for people like you. The words came out sharp with no hesitation, just cold precision. Captain Sarah Mitchell didn't even glance twice. She flicked her hand toward the rear cabin like she was swatting a fly. You'll need to verify your priority status before we allow you to take that seat, or try economy. They may have space for you. A few nearby passengers looked up the way people do when they sense something wrong, but aren't sure if they want to get involved. One of them, a white man in his early 50s with slicked back hair and a silver watch the size of a cookie, leaned over and shoved a briefcase onto the middle table. Let's keep this area clear. All right, he barked. His voice wasn't loud, but it was loaded with money, with entitlement, and with the assumption that the man standing in front of him didn't belong. That man, Dr. Julian Hayes, took it all in silently. He wore a simple gray button-down shirt, casual navy slacks, and loafers that had seen better days. There was nothing about him that screamed billionaire, nothing that hinted he was the owner of the very jet they were standing in. And that was exactly the point. Julian was running a test, an internal ethics and conduct protocol at Zenith Aviation, the luxury charter company he had quietly acquired the year before. He wanted to see how the staff treated passengers who didn't fit their assumptions of wealth and power. So he boarded as a last-minute addition, dressed modestly, his real identity hidden. But this wasn't just a protocol failure. It was something uglier. Captain Sarah Mitchell, mid-40s, once flew for a major airline that Zenith Technologies acquired in 2024. She had survived the merger, but barely. The tension in her voice wasn't just about policy. It carried resentment. And now she saw a casually dressed black man stepping into a world she didn't think he belonged in. Julian handed her a boarding stub, the decoy pass created for this test. She held it between two fingers like it might stain her gloves. Unverified, she declared, snapping it back into his chest. Security will be notified if you don't return to your assigned section. The discrimination is blatant. What do you think Julian's next move will be? Will he expose himself immediately or continue the test? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and share. To not miss what happens next, subscribe to the Unheard Voices channel. He didn't move. He glanced at the briefcase now resting where his own bag should have been. He watched the man next to it, Richard Holt, recline like he'd just conquered something. Richard was a private equity executive with a long list of failed companies and a longer list of connections. He looked at Julian the way a man might look at a mistake in his office lobby, dismissively. From across the aisle, a younger passenger tilted his phone slightly, capturing the moment. Liam Chun, 31, a well-known travel blogger, recognized Julian instantly, but said nothing. He had seen this kind of treatment before, too many times. But this was different. This time, the man being targeted wasn't just another passenger. He was the person who had redefined private aviation 17 years earlier. In 2005, Julian had been a rising star at an aviation firm in Denver. Despite his record-breaking design for fuel-efficient aircraft interiors, he was repeatedly passed over, his ideas credited to others. By 2018, he'd walked away from corporate aerospace and launched Zenith Technologies. In 2023, he'd bought Zenith Aviation and its fleet of Gulfstream jets outright. Now, in 2025, he stood in his own aircraft, being asked to prove he belonged. Sarah turned toward the cockpit, muttering to her first officer, "I'm flagging this guy. He's delaying our departure." And then, louder to the cabin, "Folks, apologies for the holdup. We're resolving a seating issue." Murmurs rippled down the aisle. Julian's face remained calm, but his jaw tightened just slightly. This wasn't just unprofessional. It was targeted. Strategic. Richard Holt stretched his legs and flashed what looked like a first-class elite badge. "I specifically requested privacy," he said. "I assume you'll resolve this." Sarah nodded as if she'd just received a corporate directive. Julian quietly reached for his phone and tapped once. "Anna, activate Protocol 3, he said into his earpiece. On the other end, Annika Sharma, his executive assistant, answered with no hesitation. "It's set, sir." Her tone was calm, clinical, but beneath it was fire. She had seen this happen before, and she knew what was about to follow. Liam leaned over just a little and whispered, "This isn't right. You know that." Julian didn't flinch. "Log it, Liam," he said, his voice low and even. Liam tapped on his phone, composing a post for X. Zenith Aviation crew profiles black passenger as non-priority. No ID check, no grace, just removal. In 2025, on his own plane. The post went up within seconds. Notifications followed like sparks in dry grass. Sarah's hand hovered near the wall console. "We'll need to verify you before this can go any further," she said. "Or you can leave. Those are your options." Julian raised an eyebrow. "Or," he replied evenly. "You verify your own conduct first. You're going to answer for this." The test has just become a fight. What do you think Protocol 3 is, and what will happen now that it's been activated? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share. To not miss the next chapters, subscribe to the Unheard Voices channel. He didn't move. He glanced at the briefcase now resting where his own bag had been. He watched the man next to it, Richard Holt, recline like he'd just conquered something. Richard was a private equity executive with a long list of failed companies and a longer list of connections. He looked at Julian the way a man might look at a mistake in his office lobby, dismissively. From across the aisle, a younger passenger tilted his phone slightly, capturing the moment. Liam Chun, 31, a well-known travel blogger, recognized Julian instantly, but said nothing. He had seen this kind of treatment before, too many times. But this was different. This time, the man being targeted wasn't just another passenger. He was the person who had redefined private aviation 17 years earlier. In 2005, Julian had been a rising star at an aviation firm in Denver. Despite his record-breaking design for fuel-efficient aircraft interiors, he was repeatedly passed over, his ideas credited to others. By 2018, he'd walked away from corporate aerospace and launched Zenith Technologies. In 2023, he'd bought Zenith Aviation and its fleet of Gulfstream jets outright. Now, in 2025, he stood in his own aircraft, being asked to prove he belonged. Sarah turned toward the cockpit, muttering to her first officer, "I'm flagging this guy. He's delaying our departure." And then, louder to the cabin, "Folks, apologies for the holdup. We're resolving a seating issue." Murmurs rippled down the aisle. Julian's face remained calm, but his jaw tightened just slightly. This wasn't just unprofessional. It was targeted. Strategic. Richard Holt stretched his legs and flashed what looked like a first-class elite badge. "I specifically requested privacy," he said. "I assume you'll resolve this." Sarah nodded as if she'd just received a corporate directive. Julian quietly reached for his phone and tapped once. "Anna, activate Protocol 3, he said into his earpiece. On the other end, Annika Sharma, his executive assistant, answered with no hesitation. "It's set, sir." Her tone was calm, clinical, but beneath it was fire. She had seen this happen before, and she knew what was about to follow. Liam leaned over just a little and whispered, "This isn't right. You know that." Julian didn't flinch. "Log it, Liam," he said, his voice low and even. Liam tapped on his phone, composing a post for X. Zenith Aviation crew profiles black passenger as non-priority. No ID check, no grace, just removal. In 2025, on his own plane. The post went up within seconds. Notifications followed like sparks in dry grass. Sarah's hand hovered near the wall console. "We'll need to verify you before this can go any further," she said. "Or you can leave. Those are your options." Julian raised an eyebrow. "Or," he replied evenly. "You verify your own conduct first. You're going to answer for this. The test has just become a fight. What do you think Protocol 3 is, and what will happen now that it's been activated? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share. To not miss the next chapters, subscribe to the Unheard Voices channel." Emma Walsh, the flight attendant, stepped forward holding a tablet. She said nothing, but her fingers danced across the screen. A few moments later, a notification came through on Annika's console back at Zenith headquarters. "Passenger unauthorized, recommend removal." No explanation, no due process, just a digital accusation in a closed-loop system. Back on board, Richard slid a folded note onto Julian's seat before standing up and sauntering off. Julian picked it up, unfolded it, and read the words in looping ink. "Try budget flights." He folded it again, tucked it into his pocket, and turned towards Sarah. "You're destroying everything this company stands for," he said softly. 1 second at a time. From the cabin's forward display, a ping sounded. Liam had posted a photo of the note, and in less than 3 minutes, it had racked up over 2,000 likes. Julian's face remained composed, but beneath the calm, the pressure built like steam in a sealed chamber. Passengers were shifting, whispering. One of them, a black tech founder named Malik Jordan, watched with a quiet intensity. He hadn't said a word, but his eyes hadn't left Julian once. He recognized the pattern, too. And then Julian did something that caught everyone off guard. He reached down, adjusted the cuff of his sleeve, and said, "If you thought this was going to end quietly, you've misread the moment." His smart ring vibrated softly. Protocol 3 had reached the escalation threshold. First Officer Thomas Blake didn't waste time. As soon as Captain Sarah Mitchell waved him over, he stomped down the aisle like he'd just been given clearance to remove a problem. "He's not on the verified manifest," she said loud enough for several passengers to hear. "And if he's refusing to comply, we may need to escalate." Thomas didn't ask questions. He stopped in front of Julian and squared his shoulders. "Sir, You'll need to leave this cabin immediately or be escorted out by security. His voice was gruff, old school, with a tinge of aggression that made the cabin go still again. Julian remained seated, his posture calm but alert. Understood. Then verify me. He tapped his smart ring once more, sending a secondary ping to Annikra's console in the Zenith command suite. At that same moment, Emma Walsh, the flight attendant, pulled up the passenger log on her tablet and manually flagged Julian as unauthorized. No badge scan, no ID check, just one entry, not on record. It was enough. Sarah turned to Thomas and gave a slight nod. Meanwhile, Richard Holt smirked. This is what happens when you let just anyone think they can buy a seat in here, he muttered half under his breath. But loud enough to be caught on video. Liam Chun, still filming, glanced up from his phone. He had seen racial bias before. He'd even reported on it once, but never this openly, this fast. He typed quickly. Zenith aviation pilot accuses black man of being non-priority. No verification, just removal threats. Witnessed it myself. Hashtag discrimination in Theskis. Within seconds, the post had crossed 2 million views. Comments flooded in, name the airline. Post the faces. Tag FAA. And then a reply from an aviation journalist. DM me. We'll run this tonight. But the humiliation wasn't over. Sarah turned back to Julian and said with a mock pleasant tone, "You could always apply for a maintenance role. Sir, we're always looking for people who understand the insides of a plane." A few passengers chuckled uncomfortably. Richard laughed outright. Wouldn't be the first time one of them walked up here thinking they belong. A woman seated across the aisle gave him a sharp look, but said nothing. Julian stayed seated, unmoved. You're violating every standard your badge is supposed to uphold. His voice was steady, measured, but not quiet. You're no longer following procedure. You're profiling. From her phone in Zenith headquarters, Anukika Sharma watched the tampering unfold in real time. Emma's input had triggered an alert in the internal compliance system, an alert meant for cases of data manipulation. She picked up the phone and called Julian. "Sir," she said, "Emma just logged you as unauthorized without ID confirmation. I'm locking the log, filing an internal complaint now." Julian nodded, not needing to say anything. She continued, "And Thomas, he's citing a security violation. I'm escalating to Elena." Elena Ruiz, Zenith senior counsel, was already scanning the incoming reports. Back on the plane, Thomas leaned toward Julian and growled, "You can either leave quietly or we'll call airport security." Julian's reply was soft. "Call who you need to, but start by calling your conscience." Liam, sitting nearby, was typing again. Zenith first officer threatens passenger with security. No cause given. Tension rising. Elena's voice buzzed through Julian's earpiece. "Julian, I'm initiating protocol 303. All internal logs are being preserved. Do not leave your seat. Their entire chain of actions is being recorded. The situation is escalating fast, with corporate oversight now in effect. What do you think the crew will do when they realize that Julian isn't backing down? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share. To not miss the next chapters, subscribe to the Unheard Voices channel." At that same moment, the display screens in the forward cabin began updating with news alerts. Bloomberg had picked up Liam's earlier post. The headline scrolled across the ticker, "Passenger mistreatment on Zenith aviation flight. Viral post suggests racial bias." Sarah saw it. She walked down the aisle, grabbed Julian's briefcase, which had been returned to the aisle seat, and moved it to a nearby cabinet. "Unclaimed item," she said coldly. Julian watched her, then looked at Richard, who offered a smug shrug. Richard then stood and made his next move. "This gentleman boarded without clearance," he said loudly to the crew. "I saw it myself. It was a lie. He knew it." Everyone who had been watching Julian board had seen him enter quietly, escorted by a gate agent. But the accusation, once spoken, stuck like oil on water. Liam's voice came out louder than expected. "That's false. I watched him board. Gate agent let him in. He didn't speak to anyone." Sarah ignored him. "Passengers, please remain seated. We are investigating a manifest discrepancy." It sounded official, clean, sanitized, but every word reeked of evasion. Back at Zenith HQ, Elena typed faster. "We're filing formal misconduct charges against Sarah and Emma. Thomas, too. But Julian, they just reported you as a trespasser to the terminal security." Julian didn't blink. "Let them come." Annika added, "This has moved to full protocol status. All posts are being archived." Liam's content just crossed 500,000 views. Bloomberg tagged us. Reuters just requested comment. I'm routing media to Elena. Inside the cabin, the tension was rising by the minute. Richard leaned toward Julian and said, "There's nothing you can do. They've already decided what you are." Julian replied without looking at him, "And they'll soon remember who I am." Emma paced near the galley, watching the front screen scroll with news coverage. She whispered something to Sarah, then tapped again on her tablet, reclassifying Julian's seat as vacant. Liam caught the moment in a photo. Flight attendant just marked Dr. Hayes' seat vacant while he's sitting in it. Tell me again, this isn't coordinated. That name, Dr. Hayes, hadn't been spoken aloud yet, but Liam had known all along. He kept it quiet until now. The next post was explosive, breaking. Passenger being profiled is Dr. Julian Hayes, CEO of Zenith Technologies. He owns the company that runs this flight. It took only 90 seconds for that update to hit trending status. Sarah turned toward the cabin screen just in time to see the image of Julian appear beneath the headline. Tech billionaire allegedly profiled on his own jet. The cabin shifted quietly, uneasily. Julian didn't gloat. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked Sarah in the eye and said, "You just profiled your employer, and you did it in front of the world." The cabin doors stayed closed. Security hadn't arrived yet, but the situation was unraveling quickly, and the cracks were now visible. Liam looked down at his phone and whispered, "Julian, your name's everywhere now." Julian leaned back slightly. "Good," he said. "Then let them watch what happens next. The big reveal is out, and the power has officially shifted. What do you think the crew's immediate reaction will be, and how will this change their behavior? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share. To not miss the next chapters, subscribe to the Unheard Voices channel." Captain Sarah Mitchell's face was pale beneath her professionally applied makeup. The live news ticker above seat 1A now cycled through phrases like CEO, targeted aboard own jet, and Zenith Aviation staff under internal review. Still, she pressed forward, unwilling to surrender control of the cabin. "Lucas," she barked, her voice tight with panic masked as command. "Remove him immediately. This is a policy breach." Lucas Grant, still standing beside Julian's seat, hesitated. His hand hovered just inches from Julian's arm. He could feel the shift in the air, not just from the headline, but from the murmurs rising through the cabin. Passengers were no longer passive. They were filming, whispering, questioning. Then Richard Holt stood up again, almost triumphant. "Why are we delaying this?" he said, voice sharp. "The man doesn't belong here. Get him off this plane." He turned and looked around, hoping for agreement. Instead, silence met him, a silence that felt like judgment. In seat 2B, Malik Jordan, an emerging black entrepreneur and one of Julian's hidden guests, finally spoke up. "You keep saying he doesn't belong, but I wonder, Richard, what makes you so sure? Is it his clothes, his skin, or that he didn't bow to you?" Sarah shot him a glare. "Stay out of this, sir. You're not involved." Malik folded his arms. "I am now." From her Zenith headquarters terminal, Anukika Sharma watched every second through the aircraft's live feed telemetry, her fingers moving swiftly across the keyboard. "Julian," she said through his earpiece. "Emma just locked your flight log. It's a forced override on her tablet. She's trying to erase your record of being on this jet." Julian's eyes narrowed, though his face remained calm. "Tell Elena," he replied, already on the line. Elena Ruiz responded immediately. "I'm unlocking the override and securing all internal logs under legal protocol. That's a violation of corporate and FAA policy." Her voice was steady, controlled, but beneath it, fire burned. Inside the cabin, Julian finally stood slowly, calmly. Then he faced the crew and said, "You want to escalate? Fine, but before you do, ask yourselves, are you absolutely certain you know who you're talking to?" Sarah took a step back, uncertain. She glanced at Thomas, who was visibly sweating. "He's bluffing," she said under her breath. But Thomas wasn't so sure anymore. "Captain," he muttered, "maybe we should wait for confirmation." Julian ignored them. He turned his attention to Lucas. "You grabbed my device. You raised your voice. You put your hands on me in front of dozens of witnesses and multiple cameras. Do you still believe I'm just another passenger?" Lucas blinked. Then slowly he stepped back. Just then, one of the cabin displays changed. Liam Chun had uploaded a full timeline of the incident titled Minute by Minute, How a Billionaire CEO Was Profiled on His Own Jet. In less than 30 seconds, it was trending globally. Reuters posted it. NBC picked it up. Aviation International, a watchdog publication, issued a damning bulletin. Zenith Aviation staff under fire after discrimination incident. High-value clients begin pulling bookings. Sarah's mouth twitched. "I don't care who you are," she snapped. "You're violating chain of command." "No." Julian cut in, calm but firm. "You violated trust, dignity, and corporate ethics, and now you're about to be held accountable." Anukika's voice came back through the line. "Julian, Protocol 3 is finalized. Internal HQ just approved the full disciplinary pathway. Your orders are now binding." Elena added, "You are officially recognized as acting authority on this flight." Security will stand down upon directive. Before Sarah could speak again, Julian turned to her directly. Captain Sarah Mitchell, First Officer Thomas Blake, Flight Attendant Emma Walsh, Security Lead Lucas Grant. Your actions today have failed every standard this company upholds. Effective immediately, your services are terminated pending legal review. He paused. Richard Holt, you're banned from all Zenith Aviation charters indefinitely. The announcement stunned the cabin. Passengers froze. Phones filmed. No one moved. Sarah laughed, brittle and incredulous. You can't fire me. I'm the captain of this flight. Julian didn't blink. And I'm the owner of this aircraft. My authority supersedes yours. Elena's voice echoed again, now on loudspeaker. This is official. All orders given by Dr. Julian Hayes are supported by Zenith's legal office. Terminations are valid under contractual violation clauses. Sarah's eyes darted to the flight deck as if seeking backup. But Thomas had collapsed into his seat, face in his hands. Lucas stared at the floor. Emma clutched her tablet like it was a life raft in open water. And then came the twist no one was prepared for. Elena, Julian said, his voice still calm. Has corporate reviewed their complaint history? Elena's voice turned grim. We have. Sarah Mitchell has 20 logged complaints for racial profiling over the last 3 years, sealed by internal manipulation, all hidden by Thomas Blake. It's over. Anukika added. Complaints were blocked from review, but the audit caught it. They're exposed. Liam posted again. Hidden history of profiling uncovered. Crew fired. Passengers cheer. CEO reclaims the sky. Underneath the post, a passenger comment read, simply, we watched justice happen in real time. Julian took one last look around the cabin, then returned to his seat. The jet, though still grounded, had already taken off in the only way that mattered.